This is day 195 of the Arukh HaShulchan OC. If you would like to sponsor an upcoming shir or more of the Arukh HaShulchan OC, please contact me directly. It would be very much appreciated. Today we are doing Siman Kuf Mem Sif Zayin to Siman Kuf Mem Aleph Sif Hey. So we were in the middle of something yesterday, in the middle of the halacha of where they showed you the wrong place in the Sefer Torah when you came out to make your aliyah. So Zion, those say even they showed you before the makom of your kriya, there was something which you weren't going to read. Came true if he showed you in this week's parsha, ain't tzarich levarach, he doesn't make a new bracha. You're allowed to read what somebody else read previously. This is the Mogeh problem, and his words are astonishing him. The mind on zealous that what does one have to do with the other? He only had da'as on what's in front of him. Now what's behind him? Just in case you have to take a new bracha. This is a consensus of the Aliyah Rabbah and the Drisha and the Taz who wrote Shekas of the Dafkima. It's in the brackets, by the way. The Dafkima Efsher Shiglo Parshazu. If something which is possible that they're going to read him in this Aliyah, that's in other words something in front of you. Second brackets, he says. Shekas Magaron subsequent dar ayin subsequent tarpat ain't okay. Remember, Abraham says he rejects. Mishnah Pura says long thing of Mishnah Pura. That's only when the parsha, which is appropriate for him, is not open at the time that they showed him the first place. In other words, they showed him even they showed him before something before which had already been laid that week. If at the same time the amud where you're supposed to lay is open, even if the first place in fact was from the previous week, but the place you're supposed to lay is open, and there's no difference if the place you're supposed to lay is in the same amud or in the next amud. That doesn't matter. Or the place was basically above, below, or vice versa. No matter what, as long as it's open at that time, you don't have to go back and make another bracha. If they were not meticulous to see where they were opening it up and what they were showing at the time showing it him, and they thought that there it says the parsha of today, and then they found afterwards there's a different parsha, and they have to roll, right? So then the Prima Goyim writes that it's not a hefsek. The Chaim writes that it's no distinction, which I assume means that you do have to make a new bracha. That perhaps if it's in front of you, obviously we said if it's in front of you, it's not going to be a problem because it's something which you intended to lane. Even if you would have to roll it out, it would seem that it'd be okay. So not sure. Not sure exactly what that last line means, but our Mishnah sign, which we do rely on, that when it's open in front of you, even they showed it wrong place, but it's open at the time they showed it to you, that is good enough. Okay, Ches. Oh, yesh mishom the kozel dafka b'kshetei b'cha bracha roshato. Those say it's only if the media have bracha they saw a mistake, made a mistake. Please chili cross A's of psukim. They start reading some psukim b'charkach roshato, and then they saw they made a mistake. And so levarich, they don't have to make a new bracha. The hefsek eno mazik. That the interruption is not mazik as long as the bracha was samach the sam laning. The fact that there was a hefsek is not mafsik, and perhaps that's what this Mr. Prima Godim and their Chaim are going on. As long as they're if you started reading from the parsha of the day, then you have to go because it wasn't the right parsha of the day. You had to go to Vikoilo, so it's not going to be a hefsek. What about the fact that he didn't have das in this place that we're now going to lay for him? It's like somebody who ate a fruit. Made a bracha on it. And they brought him another fruit of the same. They insert the bar there and make a new bracha. Those argue and they do have to make a new bracha. That's the Rabbah. The Rabbah said the that you do have to make a new bracha, which is fascinating because normally they say Safek brachas lahaka. And see, but he says the Gan Persim before lechol od. If you did not have mind to eat this fruit anymore, I should say, v'nimlach. In other words, you ate as much as you intended to. Benimlach lechol, you change your mind and decide to eat more, you have to make a new bracha. Benimlach gomahu. Here it's a totally change of mind. To loya daito klam makom zeh, you didn't have in mind this place. Beino liftara, so we bracha, we can't extend our bracha, like sholo lamato mimakom kriyaso. Just where they show them something below where it's supposed to start. In other words, something forward, not backward. And lo rachok harbei mimakom kriyaso, not so distant from the place where he's from the place where they started laying. Which was Sabbath, like we said yesterday. And he says, this is the way to pass in a new bracha. Evidently, the Mishnah Berurah that we saw disagrees with this. Arukh HaShulchan says to make a new bracha. Barely, and it seems to me that when you go back and make the bracha, you don't only go back on the bracha itself. Baruch Hu lo yamar od pam. But you don't say Baruch Hu second time, which is not Sif Dalet. Test that. You should know that I need Tmial Ikra Din Zeh. I'm astonished at this the core of this halacha. She's come up that all the names agreed. When they show you a little bit further in the place, they don't make new bracha much kasavu. But Yerushalmi makpid shetzarich dafka shkol psukim yizbarchu. Yerushalmi says all the psukim have to be blessed. So therefore, we saw somebody gets an aliyah. Somebody stops in the middle, somebody has to take over, etc. Okay, you also had in mind this place. But I'm talking above the place he actually supposed to lay. So the place that he showed him, Lois Kamarasa Kaba Brachosa. You know, the intent was Brachro. His brachos never, these psukim never got a bracha. Now it's true that we've said a couple of times that not all psukim require a bracha, like we mentioned the Tochacha. My sojourn in bells when I said so they didn't make a bracha on the Tochacha. But that's where you had kavanah not to make a bracha on it for some reason, and you relied on the mevarech before and the mevarech afterwards, just like with Zman Gemara. They rely on the mevarech at the beginning and the mevarech at the end. But now, Zman Hazeh, most people don't have that in mind, except in a well-defined place like the Tochacha. So therefore, this would be left actually without a bracha altogether. That's what the Arukh HaShulchan's astonishment is. Kufim out. Hakoret tzarich likros ba'amida v'din hamakri v'chule. So the person has to be saying up, and the person who is makri, who I don't know that we'll see the prompter. Specifically standing up. Hashem says to Moshe, come stand with me. So to speak, Hashem is also standing. Hashem is to Moshe Rabbeinu, was teaching to Moshe Rabbeinu. Just like it was given with fear and awe. So that we have to conduct ourselves with fear and awe. The Mama Rasina, you call Yisrael, you owned him. The Mama Rasina, all Jews were standing, Moshe was standing with them. Like it says, Anocha made Ben Hashem, Ubein Echem. It's standing between you and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Misham is tapping himself, Minei Kavod HaTeire, is because the honor of Torah, Minei Kavod HaTzibur, because the honor of the Tzibur. Yasham Lichoy Nerdishtem Mishum Minei Kavod HaTzibur. Says, what's seen that's because of the honor of the Tzibur. You look in that, I feel Kor Beino Ben Atzmon, Chayv Amor. And that, if you do Steinberg of Echot Targum, read by yourself, you should have to stand. Mutar it's an answer that even if it's for the honor of the Torah, lo chibur lamo, they only require him to stand. Rak b'tzibur, only when he's part of a tzibur, for lo ben elevein atzmo, not when he's by himself. Matzrichol lamo, make a person stand in order to learn Torah. He's satel maloyim loklau. Say, forget it, mali latzorah, else he won't learn it all. Ayin sham. Yishmael, those say, I feel the evlo yatzo. Wow. If you sat down, even the Evi or not, you say, Chokolov, they argue on him. That was the Bach, by the way. But they argue in the body, but the Evi, the Otso, the Magen Avraham, Pichodesh, and the Rabba all reject the Bach. The Raya Zem Yerushalmi is evidence for this Yerushalmi. I skipped the Mishnah Berurah before I go to the next page here. It says that, going back to the previous Simon, sorry about that, he actually says that, where is this? He's making it like the Magen Avraham. that they show, I don't know if I said, they show you above where you are. As long as it's in this sedra, you don't have to make a new bracha. And Arukh HaShulchan argues, they said that that's not, they argued on that. So Mishnah Berurah says somebody who's makel not to go back in bracha, we don't, not to make go back in bracha, and mochin be the v'yishlam immediately smoke. Okay, I'm sorry about that. So going further again, so we're talking about, we just mentioned the Bach who says that the ever you're not yotze if you sit down, and the Magen Avraham and the Pri Chadash and the Rab argue and say you are yotze b'devet, and now the Rosh says the Raya is Yerushalmi is evidence from Yerushalmi. The Zeu Vade di Matam they cover that tzibor. Certainly, if it's because it's covered at tzibor, and so because they don't go back again. You can't who adinim Matam they cover at Torah. So that's the case. It's because Torah as well must be that you don't go back again if you sing down, delocate. If not, Haylo Yerushalmi lachalik bach Shami shouldn't draw such a distinction. Based over Pashul the Gamma Oil the Torah Tzorich Lamo. That's that we'll talk about till now about Kriya. The person who gets the Leo also has to stand. Mishnah Berurah says that also the Gabai, the Skan he calls it, who stands next to Sefer Torah, also has to stand. Everybody's got to stand. But back to the Arukh HaShulchan. He has to about the oil stand the Kori Koma because the person who's reads in his place. But the congregation does not have to stand. Can't but go Rishonim. That's the psak from the Rishonim. And of course, it's the minhag of the Dotam. It's Rach B'Dafka that the tzibur sits. But by Ashkenazim, on the Yesh Madrin Lamo, there are people who are meticulous to stand. But Dai Nachonu, so appropriate. Shem Bamar Asina Klonoman, because of Mamar Asina, we all stood. For the most Moshe Ramah Rangam Liel Sochi, Lom Tarbamida, from most generations, from Moshe Ramagam, I don't know most, from all generations, Moshe Ramagam Liel Sochi, they stood while learning. The Hainu the time I'm the Shili Soita, that's why it says the end of Soita, Mishmesh Rangam Liel Sochi, Gamliel the elder died, but the cover of Torah, the honor of Torah was diminished because they started sitting down. He stood up, the Maram Rudenberg Jingmei. But Gamatoyreim came. Came. Now also too. Now those who are God-fearing do this. Who cover that Torah, and it's the honor of Torah, and besides, it helps to stay awake during waiting. Avo ben Gavra Gavra between Aliyos and Kbeir God, there's no requirement to stand. But his brother says similar from above. Steve Ches, I heard Shum. It's going to be explained later on. Gimel v'gamli smocha is the davar. This is the bummer, because very often when we stand, we lean on a stender or a wall. But so says Arukh HaShulchan, no. The answer is also it says in Zvachim by the Avodah they smicha lo have amida. To stand by while supported is not standing. So people got person got the aliyah and the Baal Kriya have to stand. If standing would make them, because they're nearsighted, not be able to see the Torah, they can bend their head over. We shouldn't support themselves on anything, nor on the wall, nor on the table, nor on the bima. Mishnah Berurah says that when you have to bend over to Sefer Torah, to see this, and by this you come to support something, it's not such ram. Says Yesh Latir. Also, the Gabbai was holding in his hands a yad to show the Koreh, the line, and the word. We don't do that nowadays. If anybody holds the yad nowadays, it's about Koreh himself. If he has to bend down and support himself, it's okay. Back to Arukh HaShulchan. Arukh HaShulchan also has a kula. El Kenim Bali Basar if they're fat. Okay, people like myself have a heter. Yay. Doesn't return success, and they can lean a little bit. Oh, Baruch Hashem. Mishnah Berurah says that also a very old man, he can lean a bit, and if he needs complete support, that's also okay. Obviously, we give a list of people in wheelchairs, even though they're sitting down altogether. So back to Arukh HaShulchan, he says a fat guy can be something little. What is a little? Kamuktsas. Also double lipo. To the extent that if you remove the thing he supports about, he'll still be able to maintain his balance. Even though by Adam and these Bayer, the Adam have to stand when they testify in court. And it says there that they can't lean on something to support themselves. Shani Osam there, Zimidamido, the Sham, Enli Kuba there, to stand is not impediment. Avocat be evidence of it's true. If you were sitting, you don't have to go back and lane again. Like we wrote, it is preferable. It's preferential, and in terms of what's preferential, it's an impediment. I mean, they cover that because I'm turning. It's a little bit like being frivolous or not sufficiently serious about laning to be so mech oneself to support oneself. Dalit. Shtaim ain't Quran B'Torah. You can't have two people read the Torah together. Because two voices cannot be distinguished. In other words, it just comes across like a blur. Therefore, if the Koreh is the get Pesach Aliyah, equal Labato. He should lay himself. Vashatza Omed Etzlo, and the Shtelzi was by him. He still got it. He should be silent. It was in ancient times. I will say no Koreh Rakashatz, but today it's about Kriya lanes. The reason for this is not everybody knows the cancellations. And they won't be Yotze with the Kriya. But on the other hand, he thinks he knows. So, and if they don't give him an aliyah, that's going to bring to a machlekas. Can I make it below plug? So therefore, the minute became without distinction. So kulam karei shots. The Baal Kriya reads for everybody. Can I shots and mokam akari? So Shilzi was in place of the reader who should be the oiler. By the time gama oiler ikra, so if the oiler doesn't read, how would be a chasel about kabatah? His bracha is like a bracha batah. Chenkas with the gama oiler yikra imashatz belachash. Even though Shemeko Oina, but this bracha is on the Cheftza of Torah. Cheftza of Torah, it seems that Shomer is not going there. You have to make your own, you have to do it yourself. So the Chenkas with the Gamma, you got shots Balachish, but silently, the undertone. The Treikai Lo Mishnah, because two voices can't be heard. Hainuk Shishneim Medabrim. I'm sorry, the other Treikai Lo Mishnah, that's in two voices of that, which two voices can't be heard. And Shishneim Medabrim Makol, it's they both speak out loud. The second guy speaking in an undertone, it's not a problem. The it should be in an undertone that he himself cannot hear it. But if he does hear it, it's not an issue. But with tefillah, during davening, the tiknu balachash, the was to read silently. Nevertheless, if he does hear it, we don't curtail his doing so. Mr. Burroughs brings this opinion. The Sharatzin writes that according to another opinion, and the other opinion, davening, so Christopher, there's no issue at all if you're mashmiya lo'ozno and tzorich l'maisa. L'maisa, I believe, briskers, they do read in a way, the oiler reads in a way which is audible, because they hold that this is, since the oiler is the ikr, and the Baal Kohen is only because lo plug, lo vayish mish'eno, so to speak. So therefore, the voice of the oiler should also be heard. That's what I believe. They're holding. That's what they call Rabbanon Salvation, because that's how in Chicago when Dominic Brisk, he would read quite loudly when he got the aliyah. Okay, hey, Mila Kapayim Divrei HaTorah VaShulchan Aruch is bar the oiler muchrach likro achar korei belachash. So the Torah and Shulchan Aruch, regardless, indicate that the oiler has to read with the korei silently. If you allow it, if not, have it a bracha batola, right? It seems that there was a bracha batola. If not, for Rabbeinu says to go cause up the Yesham Adafim Lokra Klal Avi Shamer Koina. What about the regular Shamer Koina? Chem B'chledim Yushalm in the Megillah. Baruch Chizek Korav V'Zem Mevarech. How could it be that this one reads and this one makes the bracha? Says the person who hears is like the person who reads. For Rabbeinu said V'Sim Kuflas Kuflam V'Tesiv Zayin Ein Sham. Come, nevertheless, even if that works. Best of the Korah to say silently. But if he didn't, since if he's ignorant, he can't do this. There's brackets here. So a blind person can get an aliyah. Because so now they say everyone's a blind because Korah the Bila and Bila Markevis Bo, Koshen Roy the Bila Markevis Bo. And Yerushalmi Yishlam Kar Balachash. And Yair Tzos Bas Yerushalmi also means he reads in an undertone. That which it says that the person who's hearing is as if it's reading. Klomar Kikoy Livnei Tzibor. He's like reading in front of the tzibur. Tzibur ain't shemiyah because the tzibur doesn't hear from the person. Can't hear the from the Russian Torah, it seems that explicitly that if the oil is completely silent, have a bracha b'atala. It is a bracha b'atala. B'chein anachnu noagim. Everybody reads together with the Baal Kriya. However, in the Dota Mizrach, if I recall correctly, if he does not read together with the Baal Kriya, it is indeed considered bracha b'atala. But in Ashkenaz, they won't give such a person an aliyah. But in Ashkenaz, we do give such a person an aliyah.